Hey guys, welcome to Devlog number 10. Jumping straight into it, the first thing I've updated are the gems from last episode. Well, they had no purpose last time, they now have to all be collected to be able to finish the level. So in this gameplay you can see when you collide with a gem it disappears, and this just means you've collected it. So if I run to the end of the level without actually collecting all the gems, you'll be able to see that it doesn't let you finish the level until all the gems have been collected. So I need to go back to the start, collect the blue gem, and then finish, and it'll record my time. So this is super basic to do, and it's basically split into two different scripts, a gem controller script and a individual gem script that you attach to each of the gems. So if we hop into Visual Studio, I'll show you the differences between the two and how they work, although it's super basic. Okay, so here in the gem controller script, you'll see it's super basic, 3 variables and a small function. The number of gems you'll set in the inspector depending on the number within the level. Gems collected counts the number of gems within the levels you've collected. I'll show you in the gem script in a minute how that gets added. And then for me, the bool finished level is just used so when the number of gems collected is equal to the number within the whole level, it just sets this variable so other scripts know you can now finish the level and your time can now be recorded. So jumping across to the gem script, this is super easy, even easier than before. Just when you collide with it or you trigger it, it will add one to the gems collected and destroy this game object, so that's that. So moving on, I had a few problems with the hinges I designed last episode. Mainly I didn't design them thinking ahead that I'd need more than one within the scene. So as you can see here, they're linked. When you stand on one, they both rotate. And because inside of the hinge script, the player rotation is being controlled, the player also doesn't rotate back properly. So here you can see when the hinge is set to false, it's trying to rotate the player up towards vertical, but the problem is because of the two hinges, one's always trying to rotate the player up towards vertical even if you're on the other one. So I moved this to the player movement script to control the player rotation, and then set a global variable stored in the stored variables, and this will just control when you're allowed to be rotated back towards vertical or not. So jumping back into Unity, you can see this fixed the both rotating at the same time issue, but the player now isn't rotating at all. So I need to figure out what I've messed up on that and see where I can fix that. Okay, so I figured out the problem. I was just getting my variables confused. So now I've got it set so when you collide with the hinge and it gets you to rotate, it sets a local variable called hinge call to true, and that means the hinge can rotate, but it also sets the global variable hinge to true, and that tells the player script to not rotate you. So if we jump back into Unity now as well, everything should work as intended and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so it appears everything's working properly. The only thing I realize is the player rotation speed is off, so if I quickly update that in the inspector, everything now works perfectly and I can add more hinge platforms and they can just become a staple of the game, and that's fine now. So moving on to the main thing I've been working on recently, which has been this load and save system for the game. And whilst it's nowhere near finished now, I've got it working to the point where I can load and save data, and I'm just currently using it to load and save my key bindings within my options menu. I should have it be able to save player data like names and times and any current season scores by next episode, a few more days working on it if that, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get that set up. But for now I'll just show you how it works within the key bindings. So just as a quick demonstration as to how this works, you'll see when we go into the options normally, it's set the key bindings to default. If we rebind all these from 1 through 8, just so we know what they are, go back to the main menu, save this, go back to the options, let's change all these to just some random keys on the keyboard, say whatever, this, that. Okay, I've changed some of them. If we go back to the main menu, hit load, and then jump back into the options, you'll see, here we go, they're reset to the number values we saved. Additionally, if we stop running the game and restart it, go straight back into options, you'll see it defaults to the default keys. But if we go back to the main menu and hit load, it will load that 1 through 8 key bindings, as you can see here in the options. So currently it only saves the key bindings along with the number of levels you've unlocked within the game. So currently it's more of a proof of concept to make sure that the save system just works. If we jump real quickly into Visual Studio, I'll give you a rough outline of how it works, but I'm not going to go too in depth into it today. I may go more into it next episode when it's fully complete, but if you want a tutorial on it, let me know in the comments down below and I'll be sure to do that. So jumping into Visual Studio here, you'll see the way this works is mainly through the use of 4 scripts. Now, first one of which being stored variables. This has already been talked about a lot before, but this is just I have set up so it can pull variables from here to save. The second script is a save data script, and this kind of makes a bit of a constructor to store or to tell the system what to save. So here I've got it set up to save levels unlocked and where to find them, which is in stored variables.levels unlocked. It also saves each of the key bindings, and I just use a little while loop here to cycle through all the keys to make sure it records them all. The next script that's used is a save system. Now this is where the actual saving gets done. So the data goes through a binary format to make it harder to crack, or so it's not just text editable. It sets a path. Currently I've got it set to just my desktop and a file data.data. Of course this will change within the final game. It then opens up file stream, pulls in the saved data, it creates the file and then formats it as serialized and then closes the data stream. So that's the actual saving. The loading is just the opposite. It's got to open a new binary formatter because it's all done in binary. The in file is now what it's formatting, and then it saves it within save.data and then outputs the data into the stored variables using the next script, which it will go on to, which is run save script. So this is just the script that I set up so I can tell it when to save and load the data. So I've got 2 variables here, save the data and load the data. And of course save the data is used to save data and load the data is used to load the data. Here I'll probably set up loads of different ones where it's like load player data. But when you go to save the data, it just says saving data 1. And it pulls the save system and tells it to save it into stored variables. Loading the data is a little bit more complicated because you have to tell it where to save each individual piece of data. But that's set up here. I could set up another constructor for this, or maybe even just use the same one. So I'll look into that before Wednesday, but that's basically how it works. I know it's pretty complicated, there's lots of videos online and I can do a really in-depth tutorial if you want that. Just let me know. That just about wraps up for this episode, guys. Again, thanks for watching. Please be sure to subscribe and hit like. Next episode should be finishing this loading and saving system, and then I'm going to move on to hopefully completing the UI, and then I can focus more on gameplay. I think I'm going to switch back to this pixel art format, so I'm going to spend more work on that this week. Maybe spend the second half doing a little bit of gameplay. Either way, hoping to get the UI done this week. Till next time, guys.